While every framework has different ways of serving up static files, we'll do so in Flask by creating a folder in each of our projects and call it static. Let's do that. So going to my folders, so I'm in my Hello Flask application, and I'm going to create a new directory and I'm going to call it static. And this is where we'll house all of our static files. So in my static directory, we'll use this to hold our style sheets, our images, our JavaScript files, and so on. So now that we've created our static folder, let's create a CSS file and link it to our index.html template. So I'll call it my style sheet.css. Okay, so now we have a CSS file. And if you remember and you look to the right, we have an h1 in our index.html template. So let's go ahead and style that guy. Hopefully you remember your CSS. Let's go ahead and just make the color blue. Alright, so now that we've done that, our style sheet is made, and we just have to make a quick adjustment to our index.html template. So I'll go to that template, and we'll insert a head element, and what we can do is now we'll link our style sheet. Hopefully you remember how to link it. You can just, I'll do it the longhand way so you can follow along. Say the type is text/CSS. And for the href, now this is where you want to pay attention. We're going to do it a little bit differently in Flask. So we're going to use double curly brackets as we've used before, but now we're going to use a provided Flask function called URL_for. Here we'll provide a directory name, and we'll tell it to look for the specific file that we're looking for. My style sheet.css. Right, we'll save. Oop, I forgot to close my link tag. Right, so I'm having some crazy problems with indentation here. Perfect. Alright, now we can go ahead. So we created our CSS file, we linked it in our index.html, so my server's already running. So this was what it looked like originally. Let's go ahead and enter again, and notice how it became blue. Perfect, so that's how we include a basic CSS file. Now, what if we wanted a JavaScript file? So again, in my static directory, I'm going to create a new folder and call it myscript.js. And this is a simple JavaScript file, so how about we just make it alert hello Flask. And that's all we wanted to do. So we've saved that. So similarly, we'll go back to our index file over here, right? And then we'll create a script tag. And if you remember how to do that, we say script type text/JavaScript, and we give it a source. And this source, we're going to do it the same way. We're going to say URL for static. Actually, let me switch these to double quotations. Right, URL for static, and we'll say file name equals myscript.js. And I'll zoom into this pane so you can see it a little more clearly. So this is what it's going to look like. And don't forget to close your script tag off. So I can do that like so. So now we have a CSS style sheet and a JavaScript script linked to our index.html. So if I refresh, the first thing it should do is be blue. The text should already be blue, and it should alert hello Flask. There we go. All right, so now that that's all set up properly, so let's just talk about how we might want to organize our files a little bit better. And to do that, I'll open up the file GUI. All right, so we are in our Hello Flask application, and we have our static folder. So one thing that you might notice is that our scripts, our JavaScript, and our CSS style sheet are in the same place. And after a while, when we start having a lot, that might be a little unorganized. So the way we might want to do it is I'm going to create a new folder called JS and put it in static. And I'll put a new folder. I'll create another new folder called CSS. And similarly, you could do this for images as well. So I'm going to put my script in the JS folder. And I'm going to put my style sheet in the CSS folder. Oops. In the CSS folder. Perfect. So notice how we have a little bit more organization. So the way that we can edit our index.html page now is we just have to go one level deeper. So going back to my text editor, notice how we had our link. We linked our style sheet here. So what we have to do is, instead of saying just to look for the mystylesheet.css in the static folder, first navigate into CSS and look for mystylesheet.css. Similarly, for the JavaScript, we put it in the JS folder, we can say look for myscript.js, or first go into the static folder, then look in the JS directory, and then find myscript.js. So if we go back to our browser and we check it out, oh, maybe it's not working. We can check our error. Oh, I didn't save. There we go. All right, so now you can see that our files are a little bit more organized. It's still rendering on our page and everything looks good.